everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge podcast. My name's Josh. Thanks for joining me. Today we're talking about this new documentary, Bad Influencer, the dark side of kidfluencing. It's the Piper Rockelle documentary that's been teased for a little while. I'm very excited that's out. I just watched it with my wife, and again, the amount of times that you have to say, oh my effing holy smokes, during this is crazy. And also the ending kind of left my wife and I in tears, and it's just, at the same time, it gave me the reason I do a shirt like this, because the reason I fight is for exactly the reason that this documentary is being made. These kids don't have a voice, they're being exploited, it is disgusting, and so let's talk about it. So I've got my notes here on the side because as I watch documentaries, I have a terrible memory. And I also have the documentary up, and I'll screen record parts of it so we can watch it together. I probably get struck. So you might, if that's the case and you wonder why the videos aren't there, I've had to take them out because I've gotten struck, but I'll try to make it so that we can go through it together, and I'll explain it to you what's happening in the video. I mean, they used my video, so I mean, maybe it's fair square. I don't think it is, but anyway, all that to say, very, very, very good documentary, very well put together. You should go watch it. Spoiler alert, there's gonna be some spoilers in here, but it's everything that we've been talking about Piper Rockelle and Tiffany Smith anyway. It's nothing that, they didn't cover anything I already haven't covered on my channel in excess detail. They just do it really slick, and they do it very, very well. Actually, there is a bunch of things. Actually. So that's the crazy part about this. There's things we didn't even know, and some footage and things that they got. I'm like, where did they get that footage? How did they get that footage? Especially like of Hunter's exclusive footage. I can't even imagine the raw footage that Hunter probably has on hard drives that he's keeping from Tiffany. Okay, and if you don't know the whole saga, here's the saga. Okay, Tiffany Smith is Piper Rockelle's mom and is the pimp of Piper Rockelle, basically. She even calls herself the Madame of YouTube, which is like Madame for like pimping out prostitutes. But these kids are her prostitutes, okay? And she's made millions, tens and tens of millions of dollars off of this squad and off Piper Rockelle. She brought a bunch of kids in and exploited these children, didn't pay them, and then even when those kids went to start their own channels based on the clout they got from being with Piper, they had to pay Tiffany and Hunter 10% of the earnings anyway. So like, not only did they not get paid, like this is child labor. They were working 12, 16 hours a day. They weren't even getting paid for it, okay? And you guys know where I stand on these parents who put their kids in these videos. They're not as bad. Okay, yes, that's exploitation. So they're all bad. Tiffany is obviously the worst of them all. And all these moms, I've spoken to many of them too. They all know where I stand on this. There is no excuse to have your kid in an abusive situation as soon as you get an inkling. And some of them got an inkling early and left. I don't care about the fear of it all. And here's the craziest part about the fear of these parents. The fear isn't like retribution for like lawsuits. The fear isn't retribution like get beat up by a biker gang or something. The fear is that their kids will not be able to be on YouTube anymore and make a lot of money. That's their fears. Not acceptable in my opinion. You guys know where I stand on that. I say that in the video. They take that clip. They say that. Exactly how I feel. Okay, but the story gets so disgustingly deep and dark and scary. They didn't even take some of the footage that I had to put on my channel, right? The two girls, I think Eliana and Piper, dancing in bikinis by their Hummer. I had to blank it all out because it's literally disgusting. They were 13 years old dancing like strippers and like riding things, and like, this is Hunter. And I'm gonna say this out loud, and I hope Hunter comes to sue me for this. I really, really do. Okay? Hunter and Tiffany, but Hunter for the most part. Hunter Hill, the guy that's behind this channel, who was at first said he was Piper's brother so he could be in the videos. There's no way this guy is not a PDF file. Okay, there's just no way. The amount of footage we have of this guy behind a camera telling kids to dance sexually, make out, and do sexual things, and arranging them and then filming. The fact that he's just filming it makes this guy a PDF file. This guy needs to be on every sexual predator watch list that exists in California. To this day, if you are allowing your children, and there's still parents who are doing this, if you are allowing your people around Hunter Hill and Tiffany, but for the most part, Hunter's the guy that's the creative guy behind the camera, directing the kids to do. He is the one filming 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 11, dancing sexually and putting on the internet. He is... just put yourself in a situation. If you had an underage kid, 12, 11, whatever, and there's this creepy dude who's in his 30s behind a camera telling your kid to dance like a stripper, what are you gonna do? Right? How are you gonna feel about that guy? What is he? That is a sexual deviant. Hunter Hill is a sexual deviant, and we have proof because of the evidence that he puts out from being behind the camera and what he's filming. Okay? Hunter needs to be karma. Karma needs to visit Hunter and Tiffany, obviously both. No, and the thing that pissed me off about this whole documentary, you see the whole thing. They presented it, and I'll tell you this later. They presented this to the FBI. They have literal footage of Tiffany forcing a 17-year-old kid to make out with her. Okay, and that kid even says it was wrong. I tried to call it. It was wrong. I didn't want to do it. They got it deleted, and they didn't even go into detail about how it got deleted, by the way. But it got deleted. Okay, I have a copy. There's lots of copies that exist on the internet. They have literal video evidence of this woman essaying a minor and doesn't want to press charges because the FBI won't press charges unless they are 100% guaranteed they're going to win. But how are you not going to win this? You have literal video evidence of it. And I know that's me speaking. I'm not a lawyer. I understand that. But you have 11 eyewitnesses to the things that she did. And so far, they're not pressing criminal charges. But hopefully this documentary sets into motion some pressure that puts her and Hunter in the FBI's. They need to be arrested. They need to be charged. There needs to be a federal lawsuit against what they have done. Not lawsuit or whatever, criminal lawsuit. Okay? And they haven't done it yet. They just got away with it. And even in the court thing, they settled for $1.85 million, which the lawyers probably took 40% off, and then all 11 kids had to split the rest. And they're owed millions. They're owed millions each. Okay? So basically, Tiffany, for all intents and purposes, this documentary is good and is exposing her and Hunter, but she basically got away scot-free. That's what this pissed me off to no end because again, there needs to be protests. At some point, I brought this up early in my channel that protests matter. If you can get some attention, if it brings attention to it, we know where Tiffany lives, right? We know where the content houses are. If you go out and protest and blare Disney music and everything else on a public area and you're peaceful about it, they can't film things. If you see them in public, you should be protesting it. Okay? There should be protests now. If people are bold enough out there to light Tesla factories on fire and cars and stuff because they're protesting for whatever reason, okay, it's not legal, but there are people out there protesting illegally. If you do this legally, there's something you can do. That's why I'm making these shirts, and I'll tell you why at the end of the weekend, okay? Because I can sit on this channel all day long in my mom's basement, like my haters say, and I can do 1,000 videos on this stuff. And yes, it has made a difference, and I know it's made a difference because people have reached out to me and told me it's made a difference. I mean, thousands and thousands of people have told me that this has made a difference in their life. They don't consume the content anymore, or the content they were creating, they won't do it anymore. Okay, it has made a difference, and that's great. I'm glad, but sometimes you got to take another step. Okay, sometimes you got to do the protest thing, and I think that's a peaceful protest way to approach this is pretty smart. Right? If you can find out where these content things are being created and you can go protest them legally in public areas, I think that's one way you could combat it. You can bring attention to it. These kids were working insane amounts of hours. They were all hurt. They were all damaged because of what Tiffany did, and she got away with it. There's one scene in this documentary where they approach her and Hunter comes over and is like, "You're not allowed to film minors without a permit." They're like, "F off, buddy. This is public property." Man, again, I say protest these people because I would never approach them with violence or anything like that. I would never ever do something like that, but I damn well hope they would approach me, right? I want to start a conversation. It's time to get on the road, get on the street, go to high schools, whatever the case may be, and start spreading this to the kids in high schools, that this is not okay. That what you're putting on the internet is forever. And the fact that Tiffany had that wiped from the internet, her making out that 17-year-old Reagan, is insane, but it's just evidence that whatever you put on the internet, no matter how fast you are at deleting it from the original source, it's copied and it's out there forever. I have a copy of it. The FBI has a copy of it. Netflix has put it out there now. So that's just evidence right there. Tiffany can tell you from the top, everything you put on the internet exists there forever. The bigger you are too, the harder you fall. Here are my notes based on the documentary, and again, please go watch it. It's very, very well done. It's on Netflix. Hunter was always portrayed as the brother. He came in when he was 19, but came on the videos as he was the brother, right? And this is crazy because he wasn't. He was literally dating Tiffany when she's in her 30s, and he was 19. Now, that's legal. Don't get me wrong. It's not that. But you got to ask yourself, right? You got to ask yourself, why is this 19-year-old hanging out with these 12-year-olds? And one of them did make a comment in the video. Actually, a couple of them did. They're like, we found it really creepy and weird that Hunter was just, he has no friends. He's dating this 30-something, 40-year-old lady for the daughter and making huge amounts of cash on it. And all he does is hang out with 12-year-olds and direct them to dance like strippers, kiss, make out, pose provocatively, do provocative challenges. This is what this guy's job was. Had no friends. How creepy is that? People call me creepy because I just talk about child exploitation. Okay, but how creepy is it that Hunter is actually creating this content, has 0 friends his own age, and only hangs out with 11, 12, 13-year-olds all day, 16, 17 hours a day, just filming content. Okay, and pretending he's her brother, and then finally we now know that they were dating, they were doing things, probably. Well, they were actually in a relationship. Okay, and it's disgusting that they portrayed that stuff. Piper was starting to get less lines and free, so she was on this show. Okay, Piper was on this other internet show, I forget what it was called, but it was a pretty big deal, and that's how she kind of cut her teeth on YouTube. And she started eventually getting less lines because she was being phased out for whatever reason. And Tiffany flew in, and this is where Sophie came in, right? The other girl, Sophie, was acting with her. They were opposites. One was peppy, one was like dark and emo-y, and they were giving Piper less lines. So Tiffany runs in and just swears and freaks out because Tiffany burns bridges. One thing about Tiffany, she burns bridges. You're not going to cross Tiffany because she will destroy you any way that she can. Okay? That's what everybody has said that has ever been in Tiffany's circle. Okay, she will destroy you. And so she takes her daughter off the set and she tells Sophie, you should come with us. And Sophie's like, I'm not going with you, F off. Right? And that was, I didn't even know that about Piper as in her beginning. Again, she started on Musical.ly, which is again Everly LeBrant, that's Cole LeBrant. These people started on all these platforms. And so she burned all the bridges, and eventually Sophie did come back, and then Tiffany started realizing she could just start her own empire of child influencers, and she did. And these kids worked so much and admitted that they actually hated it. They actually sat down and said, after a little while, and then not even too long after a little while, like right away, they're like, 1 in 50 videos was fun, the rest was us just working our ass off and not getting paid for it. And we hated it. They absolutely hated it. And it's just, I say that because every one of these family vloggers that you watch, okay, these kids are being forced to work. They hate it too, but they're forced to do it because they're their parents' paycheck. And I'll say this again, like I've said a million times on my channel. It should never be a child's responsibility to shoulder the financial burden for a family. That is actually bananas. That so many child actors, influencers, and everybody out there are putting the financial burden on the kids' shoulders. That means the kids don't have an out. They don't have a choice. So when parents say, oh yeah, well, I asked them if they want to be on the film and blah, 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 and I asked them for the consent, and you can't. They don't have a choice because if they all of a sudden change their mind one day, what are you going to do? You're going to have no money. So the coercion is real, especially in family vlogger world, especially in family vlogger worlds where the kid is the main moneymaker. The coercion is crazy. There's an up-and-coming content house. They're now copying content houses from OnlyFans cars. But these kids are like, there's the Stoffer children. There's what's her name? I forget the name. I'll find it for you. They're actually bringing little children in and renting these homes and doing content houses with like 5 and 6 year olds, 7, 8 year olds. Insanity. Okay? That's what they're doing. Copying OnlyFans creators to make little content houses for children. Don't ever forget who's watching this content, right? It is teenagers, yes, and kids, I get that. But the majority, and this has been all over in New York Times and Washington Post, all over articles, it's mostly disgusting pedo men who are watching this stuff, and it's being fed to them on a silver platter. Look at my interview with Dr. Leslie Dobson. She worked with these predators in the prison that she worked at. And this is where they got their they openly admitted this is where they got their content. The chomos are literally saying thank you to these Instagram mommies who are feeding this to us on a silver platter. They openly thank them. Okay, it's disgusting. There was a moment where we found out it's not 50 cats that she has, it's 60 cats. She literally has an illegal amount. I think she's not supposed to have over 5, to be honest with you, where they live in LA. She has 60 cats. In order to keep the house so that it wasn't as disgusting as it could be, they would force these children and the people. So Sophie and her mom lived with Tiffany and Piper for a long time. These kids would work sometimes till 1 o'clock in the morning and then be forced to bleach the house till like 3 a.m. Like forced to work past the 16 hours they'd already done. Right? And so just to keep these cats, because this woman has a fetish with cats. It's super weird. Okay, 60 cats? How many diseases could be in your house for that? So that was one thing that I had been talking to the parents a lot about, and that they said that they were disgusted about the cats. It's 60 cats. So I'm gonna go to episode 1 here, 3824, and something I want to show you, like the depths that they would go to.
What are the odds, Coco, that you would lick that off the floor?
Do you want me to do it?
I mean, I guess I dare you.
Voice of Tiffany Smith.
Oh my gosh, she did it. Piper, you're gonna do it?
Once the squad started really making money, it became...
I needed to show you that because there's no end to what Tiffany forced these children to do, including lick pavement on a Hollywood boulevard. Like, laughing about it. That's just like the minimum that she made them do, and forced them to do it on camera. And these kids don't know any better. There's a lady that comes up later and she says something really important. It's like, these are the most important times of these kids' lives. They're developing. And when an adult who they're supposed to trust comes along and abuses them in this way, that literally changes them forever. Like, adults are supposed to be there to be trustworthy. Kids are supposed to go to an adult, and that's a place where they can feel trusted and not abused. And that's why abusers, and that's why the Bible is very clear on this, everybody. I know you don't have to believe in the Bible, but I think everybody can agree with this. That people who abuse children should have a millstone tied around their neck and thrown out to sea. That includes this type of stuff, okay? Because kids are innocent. Kids are easily coerced. They're easily manipulated. And all the stuff that we watch, from Doherty Dozen on down to Jess Fam and Not Enough Nelsons and like Crazy Pieces and Crazy Middles and all the people that we've covered on this channel, all of these people are abusing these children, okay? And now it's not your traditional sense of abuse, and that's why the courts haven't caught up. They're 20 years behind in this thing. Forcing children to work, forcing them to bear financial burdens, all this stuff that is by nature abusive. Okay? And she just took it to the next level, obviously. But I'm telling you, at some level, they're all doing this. At one point, the kids were told to be mean to other people and ended up being really cutthroat. She wanted to create an environment of them fighting against, trying to get better scenes, get more fame. Because Tiffany would reward things. She would reward people for doing crazy things like, you know, if you wear this mini skirt and this dress, this tight dress, and do these things, you'll be in the next 3 videos. And she would reward them by doing things that they were uncomfortable doing with more content, and because she held the reins on everything. It started progressing into more sexualized content. The pug was used, which is this dog that she has, to be mean to the kids. And Tiffany would say things through the pug on camera that she wanted to say, but use the pug as kind of like a barrier, as a joke barrier, because these are children, right? And the children weren't picking up on it, but Tiffany would use that as like the puppet to say what Tiffany really wanted to say and be really mean to these kids. Tiffany started showing pedo tendencies with Gavin. So Gavin Magnus comes into the show. He becomes Piper's love interest. And it's interesting because Gavin and his mom are not in this documentary, because Gavin is back in with Piper's circles because it's more lucrative to be with her than it isn't. Because Gavin was trying a musical career. His mom has been exploiting him since he was little, like this stuff. And it's never enough. They'll go back to an abusive situation, to a person they know is a chomo and a PDF file that filmed these girls, and they will put him in, she'll put him in this content. Okay, Gavin tried to pursue a music career, didn't work out for him. So he's now back with Piper Rockelle in this abusive situation. They left and they had all this beef, and now he's back. That's because money matters more than the protection of these children. But one of the kids said that Tiffany started showing pedophilic tendencies with Gavin, asking him if he had a boner and all these kinds of things. He was 12, and that's at 4056. Let's take a look.
Tiffany would flirt with him. That was very weird. She would say, do you have a boner, from looking at me to Gavin. At this time, he's probably 12, 13.
Do you have a boner from looking at me? She would say that to a 12-year-old boy. And this mother, if I'm correct, still has this kid in the content. Maybe he was back, or maybe he's not anymore, but I have seen him back in her circles. Man, she's getting very, 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 very sexualized. My wife, again, over time, going through all this stuff, she doesn't know the depth of this. I obviously know it because I've been covering it for so long, but she was heartbroken. My wife was just heartbroken through this and saying, what the F? And we needed to take multiple breaks from this stuff because it's so hard to watch. Piper Rockelle, you mark my words, when she turns 18, which is this year, I think, it's off to the bop house. It's off to making OnlyFans, and the mother is going to be 100% the one who coerces her into doing it. At the end of this video, I've got an open letter to Piper Rockelle. I think it's really important because, again, this documentary, like at the end of this documentary, when we're watching these kids do this little dance for Piper and say, hey, kind of saying their goodbye to her, like I'm in tears, okay? But it renewed my vigor to sit here. Why am I doing this? Because these parents are allowed to do this and nobody's protecting these kids. The law isn't going to do it. Social media platforms aren't going to do it. And the only way we're going to make a difference is by pressuring law enforcement to step in. Again, one of these kids is going to get murdered someday, and it still won't change things, right? We're so far past helping that the only thing we can do now is watch until the horror comes to an end, right? Until someone comes to an end because of the horrors of all this. So she would not do these things around the parents, though. The parents more and more were ostracized and kicked to the back house, and they weren't allowed on set and all this kind of stuff. Corinne was kicked out, and the mom left, and then Tiffany started spiraling. So Corinne started this big cliff. Everybody started leaving. They started seeing who Tiffany really was. And Tiffany would pressure the other kids to stop following, the other parents to stop talking to each other. She would cause division amongst everybody because Tiffany held the reins of their careers, and they knew it, right? And these parents, again, the only thing they were really scared of is that their kid wouldn't go on to make millions of dollars on YouTube. Not that they were in danger for anything else except for that. That was the one thing that kept them there. That was the one thing that kept them compliant, was that their kid wouldn't make millions of dollars on YouTube. And then the episode 1 ends with the Reagan Beast kissed, with Tiffany making out with him. And then Reagan Beast comes on and just says at the beginning of episode 2 that basically this is the craziest thing. This should never have happened. But I'll show you the end of the episode. It's really important.
Hung out a lot, Hunter, Piper, and Tiffany. There were some occasions where Tiffany was drinking and she just has no filter, and she would say things to me, especially around Piper. And she's like, "You're gonna be so sexy, like when you're like a little bit older." So we were on my live stream having a good time, and then it took a really unexpected turn. She forced herself on me. I was shocked.
There. And I've shown you that many times, and just on that footage alone, I've said this many times as well on my channel. Just on that footage alone, she should be in prison. Like, you have evidence right there that you need. I don't think the statute of limitations run out on it yet. Just use that, and they won't. Just on that one charge, that's probably enough. And then the other ones will stick because we've seen the proof and evidence of who she really is. You've got 11 eyewitnesses plus parents, probably more like 20 eyewitnesses, okay, to what she has done. We've got footage behind the scenes stuff. You could, again, Hunter has gone a deleting spree. There's no way that there's any footage that remains that would incriminate them. It's all gone or hidden or something. Or Hunter's holding on to that secretly so that when it comes time to throw her under the bus, Tiffany, he'll use it. So I hope Tiffany's watching, just so you know, Hunter's holding on to that footage. So she was very interested in Reagan Beast's transition because Reagan is transgender, and it got really sexual, talking about his, like, when you get in the surgeries, and then again, and there's a moment where he admits again, and there's a moment here where Reagan admits that she's feeding kids alcohol. Like, there's more evidence that she's doing crazy, and like they all said that they were doing this when they were on tour and doing all this stuff. She's feed these kids alcohol. This was one of my kids. It would be over for Tiffany and Hunter. It would be over. And the fact that it's only moms that are sitting here in this documentary and the dads didn't do anything is mind-blowing to me. I'm surprised. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm surprised there wasn't violence by a dad, because if this happened to my child, there's nothing you could do to stop me. Okay, I would smile in my mugshot. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'd be smiling because I just don't know how they got away with it. Where are these dads? Where are the dads? Well, Jensen, one of the kids' dads, tried to step in, and Tiffany convinced him either by paying him or something to emancipate from his mother. Insanity what Tiffany has done with these kids. Ugh. Karma, man! And here, again, a good example of the internet is forever, which is, I guess, 303 I said here.
You couldn't find any clips of us kissing. You couldn't find any recordings of the stream. It was just all gone off social media, not on YouTube, not on Instagram. Like, what's going on?
And again, the reason why Reagan is saying this is because this is on his channel. And we dug a little deeper into this, and it was because his manager was with Tiffany, and he just went in and deleted everything. But again, another example of why the internet is forever, and you should never have your kids on here, like in any capacity like this. You know what I mean? Like, the internet's forever. That was on for an hour and then deleted, and it still exists on the internet. Thank God it does too. Thank God. But the lengths that she went to delete that because she knew it was wrong, it was insane, and it sort of worked until it didn't. Right? And so she's really, really, really highly connected. And that's why a lot of people are scared of her, because maybe she's got a lot of money to lose. That's why I'm scared of the royalty family a little bit, okay? They've got tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars to lose. and we're going to make them lose it. We are going to do whatever we can to bring down Royalty Family as well, okay? We got some plans up our sleeve. A lot of these kids didn't like each other. The online drama was real though, right? So they were forcing them to be in relationships, but they didn't like each other that way. But they was feeding into this online drama that was a big part of these kids' lives. It was like their People magazine. It was like, this is where they came for the little drama hits. And it was all real to the kids watching it, but not to the kids in the thing. And they would force kids to be in relationships that weren't in relationships. It was kind of gross, actually, to have children be in relationships on camera. It's disgusting, by the way. The kids were being super pressured into scantily clad clothing and working huge long hours. Jensen entered the picture, and then they were asking for sexual content more than kissing. So they're asking these kids to do more, act more provocatively, dress more provocatively as the channel progressed. Because, again, it was pedos watching it, and Tiffany was feeding it to the pedos. This wasn't little kids. Little kids don't care that a girl's dressing like a thought. They don't care. They don't actually see that. The teenagers might, the teenage boys, but it's the adult men that are watching for that stuff. And she was feeding it to them on a silver platter, still is to this day, if not worse. She would hold brand deals over their head, as it says here in 16 minutes. Take a look.
Who got the brand deal where it was placed? Who made the most money? Who needs to hold the product? Okay, well, if I give you this brand deal, then you need to be sure that you're in these videos. If you dress this way, I'll be sure you're on Piper's next 3 thumbnails, which is going to drive your fan base through the roof.
So wear that bikini.
Hunter. Man, I hope you get what's coming to you someday, buddy. I hope you're just out and about and someone recognizes you as the pedo that you are. You know, there's pedo hunters on YouTube that go around and they beat the living crap out of pedos, and I'm for it. I'm all for it. Maybe those guys should find out who this guy is, find out where he is, and just go confront him. This guy, honestly, he just, you know what I mean? Like, he's, like, this guy for years and years and years made sexual content with children. Years and years and years. Now, it wasn't explicit, but it was pretty out there. It was pretty bad. Okay, again, any person, any parent worth their salt looks at this and says, that's totally inappropriate, and it's an adult male filming it. Little children. Okay, just saying. Piper's clothes kept getting sluttier. The guy who made the thumbnails was told to make boobs and butts bigger, and that's one of the parents said that on the camera. They're like, look, he was made to augment things on the thumbnail so that it would bring more adult men to the content, not kids. Kids don't care about that. So there's this big thing where this big pile of gifts shows up. Wait till you hear this. This is gonna piss you. Megan's a dude, okay? And that's that Tiffany was feeding this to Megan and allowing Megan to send these incredible, amazing size gifts and like all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people are wondering if Megan is the one that Tiffany sent the bra and panties to sniff. Because one of the big part of the video that's going viral right now over social media is the girl admitting when they were walking to the post office, she's like, that looks like Piper's underwear. What are you doing? She's like, oh, grown men like to sniff them. And then she would come over to her mom, and her mom's like, she asked her mom, why do grown men like to sniff underwear? And then it all came out. So is it Megan receiving this? And why isn't Megan on a watch list? At the very minimum, the people that she's sending the underwear and bra to, that needs to be investigated. Why is a grown man buying a 13-year-old's underwear and bra? And is it illegal? It should be illegal. And why isn't he on a watch list? And so they would, in the video goes on to say that they would send him extra pics, and everyone knew that he was a pervert. And Tiffany just would force Piper to have conversations with him, text him, and get on the phone with this guy. He would send huge gifts, and then Megan, the dude, reached out to Sophie, and Sophie's mom blocked him instantly. See, Sophie's mom has some semblance of understanding and protection. But this guy is sending very expensive Gucci purses and bags and gifts, and Tiffany's taking it all in and literally pimping her daughter out to a stranger on the internet. Like, what if he got bold and wanted to come see? And we don't even know if he has or not. We don't know that. We don't know. It could have happened. Tiffany is literally trafficking her daughter in so many ways, and it's just, that's cool. Nobody seems to care. That's insanity, everybody. And I'll show you that clip again, 1845, because it's one of the most important clips of this whole channel.
I never pulled up pictures of Piper. Tiffany said, he likes pictures of Piper, he's her stalker. You can get stuff too if you send him pictures. It's nothing bad, it's just extra pictures. Regular.
Yeah, when are you and Piper posting swimsuit photos?
And she knows this and is interacting with this pervert, with this PDF file, and also forcing her daughter to talk to him, interact with him, and send him extra photos that no one has ever seen. What else has she sent him instead of the underwear, the bra, the photos? Has she sent nudes? Has she taken photos without Piper's consent where Piper was maybe sleeping and sent them to this guy? What has she done and how much money was transferred and transacted? And why isn't she being investigated for this? I'll show you that because it's the most important, one of the most important parts of this case that I think that just proves, like, beyond the shadow of a doubt that she's literally feeding these children up to pedos. And is in full-fledged conversations with them, knows their addresses, and is sending them things to their address. Tiffany knows where this guy lives. Right? This guy is sending gifts. The FBI needs to be on this more, and I think there needs to be a public pressure campaign to the FBI to investigate Tiffany. Right? There needs to be people out there protesting. Where does she live? I'm sure there's a public sidewalk we can protest outside of and make a lot of noise. There needs to be protests at this point. And you watch, when she gets to the Bop House, this is going to change her life forever. Because this is the only direction that she can go, or that we can see her going on. Because she's already on that Brand Army, which is basically an OnlyFans for minors. The fact that Brand Army exists is actually crazy. Okay, that guy who runs Brand Army, again, should be looking over his shoulder at every moment. These guys who are out there pedo hunting should be pedo hunting these guys too. Okay, because they are straight up creating platforms for pedos. Here's 2125, an interesting take at this.
For young girls on these platforms, being an influencer means having very large numbers of adult men as followers.
Girls who
Really, really important part, because one of the biggest breakthrough videos on my channel was when I bought the very expensive analytics for Everly LeBrant's channel. And Everly LeBrant at that point had 7.1 million followers. She was 11 or something at the time I did, or 12. I don't know, maybe she was 7. I don't know, so it's very, very, very young. Leotards, just dancing, doing the splits, all the inappropriate stuff. This is when her dad was still alive, by the way. And we looked at the analytics and we found that 70% were adult males over the age of 24. 70% of her engagement analytics were adult men looking at a girl who was 7 years old in a leotard. And the LeBrants haven't changed anything about that, and that was legit. No one came out and told me I was wrong. No one had denied it, because it was truth. I paid $800 for those analytics. Okay, that's a lot of money. Okay, they were legitimate analytics, and I got literally banned from using the social books, or they changed the way that they do the whole thing because of my video. You can't just go in and buy coins and get analytics anymore. They changed it all because of what I was doing. They are protecting pedos to the highest levels of everything in Hollywood, YouTube, social media. It's all to protect the pedo, all of it. And that's why this is so hopeless sometimes. We sit here, we snark, we do serious videos, we laugh, but it's almost sometimes it breaks my heart because of how hopeless it is, because of the high level protections these people receive, right? You're not allowed to call them out because that's going to damage our business model. Right? Everly LeBrant to this day is still probably followed by over 70% adult males. They haven't changed anything. They don't care. Piper Rockelle is probably followed by way more adult men. Probably more like in the 80 percentile. Because it's way more like unpurposely sexualized. Okay? Whereas Everly LeBrant, you can claim it's innocence because she's just a dance class. It's not. But you could claim that. Where this one is legitimately, overtly that way for those people. One of the guys said it's like a candy store, and thank God to Instagram moms, which I repeated before. So they were saying, like, these chomos were saying, hey, we just love Instagram mommies for putting their kids on the internet for us to have as much as we want, and in multiple positions and multiple outfits and stuff. These moms, here's the thing, guys. There's no way to ignore the fact that you know now what's out there. Like, if you are on social media and you're making your money on social media, there is no way you don't know. Okay, you can look at your own analytics. And even if your analytics are like, oh, it's only 20% adult male. Why is there 20% adult males watching? You can't say that those are kids' accounts on their dad's accounts, because dads it doesn't work that way. Okay? So even if there's 1% adult males watching your child, get off the internet. There should be no reason adult males are watching a young girl in dance and doing these things. Nope. And so there is no way to avoid the reality that this is full of millions and millions of PDF files watching kids. And they don't care. Like, you can ask them, like, well, then I can't send my kid to the park. There's PDF in the world. You're with your kid. That stupid excuse that they use is that, well, there's dangers everywhere. Okay. So if you know that there's literally hundreds, if not millions of PDF files following your child, you're just going to put them in the lion's den? Be like, well, you can't help it. Like, these people don't care about their children. Do you understand me? I got to say this out loud again for the people in the back. Are you listening? These people do not care about the safety of their children. They don't give a shit. because they make millions of dollars and that's all that matters to them. There's no other way to put this. There is no escaping this reality for these people. There's no argument you can create that will make it okay for what you do. Okay, we know too much now. The people are educated. Piper has no friends. She's never been to school. Piper apparently doesn't even know how to read properly. She's probably dyslexic. She's never been in school. This kid has zero education. The only thing she's ever done is create content for the last 10 years of her life. From the moment she's 8 years old till now, when she's almost 18. No school, everybody. That's illegal. This kid is dumb. And I'm not making fun of her. I'm saying, like, she literally doesn't know anything. And that's because Tiffany keeps her in the dark in every way possible because she wants Piper to be relying on her for the rest of her life. And that's exactly what she has done. They were talking about a lot of the views are from bot farms, which is true, and it was actually very eye-opening to me that their bot farms give them millions of views, but they don't get paid from them, but it's an investment into their growth of their channel. Talking about how the prank videos were real and they really hurt those kids. When the kids got the arrest, I've done a video on the footage that cop gave me when they did the arrest video, and Jensen was literally crying his eyes out because he thought his friend was actually getting arrested. Like, the prank videos were real, except for the ones who were in on it, and they wanted genuine reactions, and these kids were traumatized before it. The one girl who talks about the going to the post office with the brown underwear, my wife has really pointed out, she's like, that girl trauma stims like I've never seen before. These kids, do not forget how much trauma these kids have gone through, okay? And at the hands of Tiffany. And she just gets away with it. She just got away with it. They talk about the Jensen story, about how a couple of moms decided to leave and they thought Jensen would go, but the dad got involved and Tiffany turned the dad, and then Jensen got to stay and became emancipated from his mom, and to this day is emancipated. Now, I'm hoping Jensen one day has a wake-up call and then gets back together with his mom and has a convergence, and they have a reckoning and everything else. Maybe when he's older, he'll realize what he's done to his mom, and what Tiffany's done, and that Tiffany's done this to people. It's like, it's insane. CPS happened to visit, and the kids were told to lie to CPS, and the kids told them that they were told to lie to CPS. Tiffany got on one of the kids' phones and snooped all the messages, and they were talking behind Tiffany's back, and Tiffany freaked. And so Sophie was kicked out because of that. And when they tried to reconcile, she's like, the only way Sophie can come back in here is if you give me, this is what Tiffany said to Sophie's mom, you give me parental rights of Sophie that you come back. And the mom's like, go f*** yourself. Like, that's what Tiffany said. You want her back in here? I want your child. Basically, give me your child legally. That's what she said. That's what Tiffany had the audacity to say to his mom. Unbelievable. And some parents would. So Sophie was kicked out, and that Sophie has been Piper's best friend for years and years and years at this point. And Tiffany doesn't give a shit about Piper. Tiffany doesn't care about anybody but herself, by the way. All the kids then started leaving the squad en masse. Tiffany starts freaking out on all the kids and their parents. Tiffany was calling, here, I got the recording of it.
I'm done, and everyone, I know you're hearing this. You keep up with you owe me a fucking apology, Eliana. You are a disrespectful little bitch.
She said that to her literal, not her niece by blood, but her niece by marriage. Said that to a child. Doesn't matter if she's niece or not. Said that to a child who was working for her. You're a disrespectful little bitch. To a little girl. And then Hunter sends them a voicemail about how all the kids are quitting. And you gotta hear this because he's freaking.
So I'm confused. I don't know what's going on here. I've been very transparent and clear the entire time. And now all of a sudden everyone that I trusted and cared about and honestly loved more than anything, even now that literally turned and stabbed me in the back because he...
But I feel like he knew why.
So he sent them a message where he's just frantic about how everybody's leaving, and because that's their money, right? He's trying to be the peacemaker and all this stuff. Doesn't matter. No one talks about this in this documentary, and it's crazy to me. This guy's a literal PDF file. Like, you can't, there's no way of escaping. You put it right down on a piece of paper what attributes this guy has and what he has done in his actions, and you don't tell the name or what he does, and you're gonna say, this guy sounds like a PDF file to me, right? Am I wrong? So Piper is left with a monster, her mom, and then has lost everyone. Like Tiffany, and Tiffany doesn't give a shit. So she loses all of her friends and is now heartbroken. And she just, obviously Tiffany's like, doesn't matter, because that doesn't matter in the end. Tells Jensen Jensen told his mom eventually, because she's good at brainwashing. That's the thing that Tiffany's good at. Jensen eventually tells his mom that Tiffany's a better mom than his mom. You imagine hearing that from your child? And then Tiffany, to rub salt in the wound of Jensen's mom, they do a video at Jensen's house, sitting at her table, going through this, like as just to rub it in. That's how disgusting Tiffany is. And then they did a video at the beginning of episode 3 where she She made Piper and the new clan get on the video and say, hey, all that stuff you're hearing is all lies. We're gonna unfollow. She made her unfollow her friends and family on the video. That's what Tiffany made Piper do. And the kids that were on the outs, because Tiffany made this video to hurt them, they were getting death threats and hundreds, if not thousands, of hate comments because of what Tiffany was doing. She couldn't leave it alone. She had to ruin their lives, and she did. And we've done this in videos past. She talked about how she's tanked the channels, mass reporting campaigns. That's what she was doing. The videos were being vetted in PORN sites, which brought down their SEO rankings. They did lots of craziness. And then 1105, this is trigger warning. Trigger warning. That's all I can say to you.
Or what conversation led up to this, but I remember Tiffany asking me, like, Corinne, like, have you ever given a blowjob? And I was just like, what's that? When I was younger, like, I didn't know what that was. I was confused. And then she was like giggling and laughing, and I looked at Hunter, and Hunter was like laughing. And then she was like, oh, like, you can like do it on Hunter, like I'll show you like with Hunter. And then they were like
yeah, I'm gonna stop you there, because what she just said there is a really, really big deal. And again, FBI alert, you can do it on Hunter. That's what she said. So there's evidence that exists out there. If this woman is saying this and they just said it in joking and passing, I don't think it's a joke anymore, because again, put on paper who Hunter is and what he does. And then this girl admits on camera that they were talking about BJ's and laughed about it, and Hunter laughed about it, and then Tiffany said, you could try it on Hunter. Literally said that on video on Netflix. Okay? So put it on paper. How is it looking for Hunter so far? Right? How's it looking? And obviously for Tiffany too. Tiffany is a PDF file, so is Hunter. There are two peas in a pod who gravitate towards children for the content because they want to coerce them into doing things that they want. There are things that have never come out yet, and they will come out soon. This is literally we're scratching the surface of what Tiffany and Hunter have done to children. Mark my words here. Lenny the cat was Tiffany's vent for her sexual thoughts. He wasn't in the videos, but he was doing it off camera to the kids, and she would use him to do this sexual comments to the children. Again, creating that really weird barrier. The amount of sexual assault that has happened and how she has evaded charges, my wife and I were just like flabbergasted. My wife's like, how has she not been arrested? There are so many things that she has done to these children. Okay, like literal physical essaying to these children. Her niece Sophie, Lenny, like she kept rubbing her arm on, and it's in the court thing about how it's Lenny's dick, and she joked about it. And then the parents come on talking about how people are out there pissed with us, and I can understand why they're pissed with us that we didn't protect our kids. And that's when my video kind of pops up, and I'm like, you didn't protect your kids. None of you should ever have your kids on the internet in this capacity anyway. Let your kids be kids, man. There should be no reason kids are out there making millions of dollars on the internet. I don't care if the money is there. You shouldn't do it. It doesn't end well for anybody. It has never ended well for anybody. And then Hunter swearing in, we got that. He's a weirdo that hung out with 12-year-olds. Yeah, they go into the brand army thing, and this one pissed me off.
It is often compared to OnlyFans, but it doesn't do nudity. On Brand Army, you can be as young as 13 to actually create content on there, but in order for people to subscribe to that content, they have to be at least 18. Meaning...
And look at the front page of Piper Rockelle's Brand Army. I think that they're blurring it out. I'm not sure if they are or not, or if the Brand Army's blurred it out, but look at this.
And if you don't think that Piper is on her way to becoming an OnlyFans person, you're wrong. Because Tiffany has that lined up. She's ready to go as soon as she turns 18. Because Piper has been uneducated her whole life, has been sheltered her whole life, has been brainwashed by her mom, and alienated from the rest of the world for her whole life. Just kind of like Ferran from Royalty Family, by the way. And that is because Tiffany wants her reliant on her for the rest of her life. Someday it's going to be a wake-up call, though. So Brand Army, again, another thing that needs to be completely destroyed, dismantled from this universe. And then they get into the FBI, won't try a case unless they have a smoking gun. Hey, FBI, and I write in my notes, hey, FBI, what about the video where she makes out with a minor? Is that not a smoking gun? I don't understand why that's not a smoking gun. And I said Piper's going to end up in two things. Normal if she walks away forever, or she's going to be in porn. That's it. And I asked in questions in my notes, why did the parents take the settlement? You didn't have to take the settlement. It's not, doesn't make you better off. It's a little bit of money, and you didn't get the justice. There's no justice. A lawyer steps up in the video and it says this one line. It's really, really important that he said this line. He's like, in many ways, a civil lawsuit is where justice goes to die. There's not really any justice for it. And then 4617, which is really, really important. I'm like, where did they get this?
You're okay.
Keep going, come on.
And
I'm
now
gonna show you game mode, that's all you have to fucking say.
That's Hunter talking to Piper that way. Again, karma is just around the corner for these people, I hope. I really do hope that. And then, you know, at the end of the documentary, the kids are dancing around, they're doing their thing, and they're kind of, it's like they're saying goodbye on Netflix to Piper. And a lot of them are like, we love Piper, we miss Piper, we know this isn't her fault. It was heartbreaking because you watch this and these kids are sitting here crying their eyes out because they miss their friend, and they know that that Piper is the victim. Piper is the victim in all of this. She's 100% the victim and has been since day one. And then all the other kids are victimized because of Piper. But Piper still, to this day, has to stand in front of video cameras and go to bat for her mother because her mother forces her to do it. And as my notes I wrote here, you got to do an open letter to Piper Rockelle. And I just gave myself a title, and the title was Piper, You Have the Power. And this is an open letter to Piper Rockelle. I don't know if she'll ever watch it. Her mom probably never let her watch this. But Piper, from a dad who has a daughter, who actually reminds me a lot of your cousin. It broke my heart to watch how your friends who love you were ostracized from your life and your mother forced you to do it. Okay, it breaks my heart to know that you will never have any real friends. That those who loved you are told to leave you and that you are alienated from. And if you don't know what alienation means because you've never been educated, it means that your mom is forcing you or coercing you or trying to trick you into thinking that they're not your friends. Okay? I feel sorry for you that you have to be around a predator 24/7, two predators. Hunter and your mother are the literal definition of predators. Okay? They are on textbook PDF files. The content that they have created has been for mostly men. Your mother, Piper, has sold your soiled bra and underwear to old men who like to sniff them. How does that make you feel? Do you understand what that means? Do you understand that there are literal thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of men out there who watch your content, who follow you in great deal, who might actually be following you in public, who might be stalking you? Do you know that that's exactly the type of content your mother is creating, that you are in more danger than most people could ever be in? Do you know that that's your mother doing it and you have no choice? Do you know that you did this without your consent? Do you know that your future in corn should never have to be a thing for you to survive in the world? And here is the power that you have, Piper, to change your stars. Okay, you have the power to change everything by just telling your mother no. You can be emancipated now if you want to be. You got to find an adult. There are numbers that you can call. Okay? And I'll put one of those numbers here if I remember. You can call this number and they'll help you. When you turn 18, you are literally an adult and you can leave your mother's cursed life that she's created for you. You do not have to continue to create the content that she's about to put you in, specifically when it comes to houses like the Bob House. You do not have to do that. That is going to lead you down a very, very dark path. That is trafficking unlike anything that has ever happened to you yet. And your mother is lining you up for that. But Piper, you have the power. You have the power to say no. You have the power, especially when you become an adult, to walk away from this all, to live a normal life, to find your friends again, and to have a relationship with the people who love you the most. And it's not your mom, and it's not Hunter. Okay, you were left by your stupid piece of shit dad, and that sucks because he was supposed to be there to protect you, while your predator mother took advantage of you your entire life. Piper, you have the power to tell your mother no. What's she gonna do? What is she gonna do? From this point forward, Piper, it's very important for you to start taking notes, to write a journal, voice notes on your phone, somewhere secret where your mom doesn't have access to it, writing down everything that you remember of all the things that she's ever done. Even if you never use it, it's important for you to write those things down or record them somewhere where they can't be found. Because you're gonna need that when you're older. Your mother literally owes you tens of millions of dollars, and she will hold that over you. But I promise you this, money is not worth more than what you're about to go down, okay? And you need to get yourself a lawyer, and I'm sure there are people out there that would help you do that. Okay, Piper, you have the power to stop this, because she continues to take advantage of people now, and she will continue to do that until people stop her. Piper, you're the only one here, unfortunately, who has the power to stop Tiffany and Hunter. You are the only person. And think about all the victims that they have created in the past 10 years. And those people are your friends who love you. They have been victimized by Hunter and your mother. Think about them for a second and think about being justice for them. Piper, you have the power to be their justice. You can be an amazing person on the other side of this because you are a victim, and you have the power to take that, turn into a superpower, and be an advocate instead of a person that continues to be exploited. Piper, you have the power to change everything. You're turning 18 soon, and that's when you have the most power, legally speaking anyway. And I hope that you use this power to go to bat for your friends who went to bat for you. And I know that things have happened to you in your life that you never want to speak about, and you don't ever have to. But I need you to record those things so you have them, so you can always recall them just in case you need to use them for future legal battles. Okay? Because that money that your mother has, that's your money. That belongs to you. And you should fight for every penny of it. And even if you walk away with nothing, Piper, I promise you this. You will have a better life if you walk away with nothing or continue down the path that your mother has for you. And I say that from experience. And I know that doesn't sound like it would be a thing now, but there are so many people that would come to bat to protect you, including your friends and their families. You will probably always have a place to stay, a place to rest your head, and have a home outside of your mother's predatory behavior. I guarantee you a lot of these people would take you in. So Piper, please listen. You have the power. And you need to flex that power. You can stop this. You can be the one that stops it. So, everybody, take a deep breath. Again, I finished that documentary, and my wife, who doesn't really watch this stuff, isn't really involved in all this world. We're crying. Well, I'm crying more than she is. And it just reminded me of why I fight this. It was a moment of like, and I went over, I asked for a hug, and I went over and hugged her, and I said, this is why I do what I do downstairs every single day. This is the reason. These people out here doing this to these kids, and nobody's stopping them. This is the reason I'm petty with a purpose. Bully child exploiters. Thanks for being here for these tough conversations, everybody. I appreciate you, because together we make a massive force against these people, and that's really important. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you when I see you.